In the ancient lands of Israel, a story unfolds that has echoed through millennia, a tale of courage, faith, and unexpected victory. It centers on a young shepherd named David, a boy armed not with armor or sword, but with 5 smooth stones and an unshakable belief. But why did these 5 stones matter so much? How did they become the turning point in a battle that seemed hopeless from the start? The stage was set in the Valley of Elah, a wide expanse of rugged terrain stretching between 2 armies. On one side stood the Israelites, their hearts heavy with fear. On the other, the Philistines, a powerful enemy boasting their champion, Goliath. Towering over 9 feet tall, clad in heavy bronze armor, Goliath was a war machine, a giant who had challenged Israel to single combat for 40 days. Each day, his taunts echoed across the valley, shaking the morale of the Israelite soldiers. No man dared face him. No sword seemed sharp enough. No shield strong enough. But then came David, the youngest son of Jesse, sent by his father to bring food to his brothers on the battlefield. David was not a soldier. He was a shepherd, familiar only with the quiet hills, his sling, and the task of protecting sheep from predators. Yet, when he heard Goliath's challenge, something stirred inside him. The detail most people miss is that David's confidence wasn't born from bravado, but deep faith and years of practice with his sling in the wilderness. David approached King Saul, offering to confront Goliath. The king was skeptical. David was just a boy, untested in war. But David's conviction was clear. He recounted how, as a shepherd, he had fought off lions and bears to protect his flock. If God had delivered those threats into his hands, surely he would deliver Goliath as well. This is where the story changes. Rejecting the heavy armor and sword offered by Saul, David chose instead to rely on what he knew best, his sling and 5 smooth stones he picked from a nearby stream. Why 5 stones? The text does not explain explicitly, but scholars suggest these stones were carefully selected for their size and weight, perfect for slinging. They symbolized preparedness and trust in skill over brute force. And that choice mattered for one reason. It gave David flexibility in a fight that would require precision and calm. As David stepped onto the battlefield, the Philistine giant laughed, mocking the boy and his simple weapons. The Israelites watched, breath held, as David moved forward, his sling whirling silently in his hand. The wide valley stretched out behind him, the sun casting long shadows over the dusty ground. Every eye was on the young shepherd. David's first stone flew through the air with a sharp whistle. It struck Goliath's forehead with such force that the giant staggered and fell face down. The battlefield held its breath. But what followed next is often overlooked. David didn't stop after the first stone. He reached into his pouch for the remaining 4 stones. Each one was a chance, a reserve, a promise that the battle was not left to chance. This is the emotional core of the story. Against all odds, David's faith and skill triumphed over overwhelming strength. The 5 stones were more than weapons. They were symbols of hope for the Israelites, a reminder that sometimes the smallest tools, wielded with courage and belief, can change the course of history. The aftermath was immediate and profound. Goliath's fall shattered the Philistine morale. The Israelite army surged forward, inspired by David's victory. What began as a duel became a rout, and the fate of Israel shifted dramatically that day. But what happened to those stones? The story tells us David kept them, a testament to his humble beginnings and the miracle of his victory. They remind us that preparation, faith, and courage often come in small packages. Looking deeper, the 5 stones represent more than just physical objects. They embody the intersection of human skill and divine providence, illustrating how ordinary choices can have extraordinary consequences. The battle between David and Goliath is not just about a fight. It is about the power of belief, the importance of readiness, and the impact of seemingly small decisions. As we reflect on this ancient story, imagine the scene. The wide valley bathed in sunlight, the tension thick in the air, the faces of soldiers frozen in disbelief, and a young boy standing tall with 5 stones in his hand. This image captures a timeless lesson about courage and destiny. In the end, David's victory was more than a military triumph. It was a turning point for Israel, a moment that reshaped their future and inspired countless generations. The 5 stones that day were not just instruments of battle. They were the seeds of a legacy that would endure through history. So, next time you hear the story of David and Goliath, remember the 5 stones. Remember that sometimes it's not the size of the warrior or the weapon that matters, but the heart and the choices behind them. And that is the story that changed the fate of a nation.